What up, tribe? My goodness, I just finished watching a documentary called Tell Them You Love Me on Netflix, and it is a lot to process. I'm not going to front. I did not watch it on one sitting. It took me 3 entire sittings to get through this documentary, and for reasons that I'll get into right now. So it centers on a professor who works with students with disabilities who are nonverbal, who have cerebral palsy, and a student who has cerebral palsy, who she ends up having an affair with. The student who she has the affair with is African American. The woman who is the professor is white. And at the center of the center, at the core of the core, is this device called a facilitated communication device. All right, allow me to elucidate. So there was a man who is from, it takes place in New Jersey, Irvington, I believe. And so there's a man who has a younger brother who is disabled. The older brother was taking this woman, her name is Anna Stubblefield. He was taking her class, and she spoke about the gospel of this facilitated communication device. And the genius of it is people who are nonverbal, there's a screen and it's set up, and it allows them, there's a keyboard, and it allows them to express their thoughts, right? So people who we see, they may not be able to control their saliva, or they may not be able to walk, but through this device, they can say everything that's going on in their head. And some of them are quite brilliant, okay? And the way it works is the person guides the assistant's hand into the letters that they use to spell the words that they need to express what's going on in their head, okay? And the brother saw that and he said, "Oh snap! My brother, like he's an excellent big brother, and he takes care of his younger brother. Well, him and the mother take care of it, but the mother does her job and the brother does his job. And the brother is brings him in a pool because he can't walk very well. So there are pictures of him in the pool with him, and just walking him around, and just like all the things, like they had their tight-knit family, right? Mother, older brother, younger brother with cerebral palsy. And he said, when the older brother, who was an intellectual, who did well in college and pursued advanced degrees and all of that, there would be times when he'd be reading and his brother would be kind of like looking over his shoulder, and he said, "Wow, I wonder if there's something going on, in his head, or does he want to be able to read and all these things?" And so he says that to Professor Stubblefield, and said, "Where can I get one of those?" Oh, spoilers abound. Spoilers abound. If you haven't seen it already, press pause, like this video, press pause, go watch the documentary, and then come back. So she said, "Oh, at Syracuse is the nearest one, but we'll work it out." She ended up teaching the younger brother. And she, at the time, was married to a Black man and had 2 kids. And the way that she tells the story is that basically she fell in love with the man, is what she called him. Now, I'm going to say something that's pretty much going to encapsulate her whole character. She asked him off top, she says, "Well, what do you want to be called?" And he said he typed in D-M-O-N, I think. So she's trying to make sense out of this. What is this? What does this mean? And apparently he had a teacher some years back that called him D-Man, right? And it was a teacher that he loved a lot. D-Man, D-Man, D-Man. And so instead of her calling him D-Man, she called him D-Man. This may seem petty to you. If you watch the documentary, you'll understand, because basically she went through the process of reconstructing his whole being, his values, his diet, the activities that he enjoyed, and reconstructing it in her image. And it started with that. And it ended up getting into, they're in the car, the mother is listening to gospel music, because the mother is very Southern, the quintessential older Southern Black lady, right? They're listening to gospel, she switches it and plays classical. The man likes classical. The brother says, jokingly, I can't wait to get, this is another incident. Can't wait to get home, man, so we could kick back and, have a beer or something, right? And through this facilitated device, he says, I don't like beer, I like red wine. This is apparently what Derek, the man, is saying, right? And he's like, red wine, what the hell? This white lady, so let me tell the story, and then I'm going to give my breakdown of the story. So basically, they have an affair, and it talks about the central theme is, was he able to consent? Did he have the cognitive ability to give his assent for a sexual affair, right? And the mother's like, absolutely not. And the science, the well-to-do people, the people who are established in that field, ultimately agreed with the mother. And there is the other side that says that, basically, how can you deprive him of this? Like, he's a grown man and he's intelligent. And he showed his intelligence through the facilitated communication device, where he's in class and this and that, and he's raising his hand, and he's breaking down books and all of this. So she says, "Lo, we fell in love organically and all of that, and it's real and it's genuine." And the other side is saying, no, he's not capable of that. So they charged her with the mother is upset. She's upset. They charge her with crimes. She loses her position. She goes to jail for 2 years. She comes out. She got sentenced to 12 years. And she served 2 years because she's a white lady, because they overturned it because they could not use the facilitated communication device. And the judge, who's a Black woman, ruled that they could not use that facilitated communication device in the trial. And so they thought that it was unfair, right? A 3-panel jury system of judges. All right, so that's basically what happens in the story. Let me give you my breakdown. I think it was very well done, okay? The way that they bring topics up subtly, and it's there and it hangs, but you can determine your own adventure, you can determine your own conclusion, was masterfully done. This woman, Dr. Stubblefield, Anna Stubblefield, was at once she excelled in her field, but then she was so culturally oblivious to the point where it was frustrating to watch. At the point in their relationship that she's just like, they want to go forward and tell the family that they are in love, right? And she goes into detail about the things that they are doing, and he is a man in every sense of the word and all of this. almost like she was taunting the mother. And I said, baby girl, oh my God. If he were an able-bodied person, you don't come at no Black mother like that. You don't talk about the details about what you all have done in the bedroom, and especially not a Southern Christian Black woman who raised her, this blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, why do you think that this is okay? It's like, what? How can you be married to a Black man and have Black children and know nothing about how to communicate with Black people? But that speaks to the problem with our society and the problem in education. Because in education, there are a lot of white people with white savior complexes that are real, that believe like missionaries and like colonizers, that they have to civilize these people. And that's what she went through. She renamed him. She said at one point that he doesn't like meat, he doesn't like beer, he likes red wine. And she totally reconfigured his entire belief system and made it a reflection of her. It's not for him. It's not to better him. It's for her. This happens. Like, academia and education is a breeding ground for this. For white people that want to save the poor, unfortunate Blacks in the hood. And she was that, and she got one-on-one access that she should have never had. And of course, she abused that power. That part was kind of heavy-handed, not because of the directors, but because of her personality. I had a very visceral response when she would say, like when she started talking about we need to tell them how you feel. I turned off my Netflix and did not return for 2 days. I said, I felt disrespected. I felt like she was disrespecting my family, because the mother in the documentary is my grandmother, is every woman that moved from the South but stayed in the South for long enough to, no matter where they move, Chicago, New Jersey, California, that the South would never wear off, right? And so I know these values, I'm steeped in these values, and it felt like every time this woman, Anna Stubblefield, would open her mouth, she would desecrate those values that are so sacred to me. It was beyond difficult for me to watch, but for some reason, I kept coming back. So there was that part. There was the actual device, the actual facilitated communication device, which was debunked by a lot of people, and by a lot of like commissions and people that work with nonverbal folk. They don't use it because they believe that it isn't the thoughts of the person that are being expressed, of the person with the disability that is nonverbal, but it is the thoughts of the aide or the professor that is being, and they are subconsciously conveying that through the device. And the whole family, everyone believed that was, in effect, what Dr. Stubblefield was doing. Think of it like, you guys remember the Ouija board, right? And I've never done it. I just want to put it out there. I've seen it on movies. Just so we're clear. I've never played around with it. I just remember Ouija, Are You With Me? Shout out Bone Thugs and Harmony. Okay, anyway, tough crowd. Okay, so, so in Ouija, you'd have the little Ouija board, whatever, and people would intentionally sometimes unconsciously, whatever it is, and you would push it around the board to spell certain things. The devil is here, but it wouldn't be random. Like, they would be doing this intentionally. What they were saying is that with this facilitated communication device, that is the same thing that was happening, right? And so I liked how they put forth the dreams of loved ones who had people who are nonverbal that were using this device, and how they wanted, the brother in particular, the older brother, he's an intellectual, and he, in his heart, he loves his brother so much, he wants his brother to be an intellectual like him. And he wanted that to be true, all of these things that were happening. And so they build up this idea that my brother's reading through all these books, my brother's writing essays, my God, and he's so proud of his little brother. And through the course of the doc, this dream is destroyed, right? So they do a great job of building that up and then telling the truth about what it actually was. They also talk about the notion of, this part they did really well. They were almost slick with this, but it's definitely there. And that is the notion of the overbearing Black mother. They established in the beginning that it was a single mother and the father didn't want to have anything to do with it. She said he took the high road and he just left. So I don't know, maybe he has some substance abuse. I don't know what happened, is open for conjecture, but she said he took the high road and he left. So there's no father. And so they talk about, one of the things that they brought up was that Derek wanted to be independent. He had these dreams of being alone outside of his mother telling him what to do. And Anna was helping him to achieve that dream, to get out of that house and do his own thing. But they spun it in a way that the mother was like, no, he's my baby, he's mine. And so there's this thing that is natural of the mother being jealous of the daughter-in-law. And they played on this quite well. And is she jealous, the mother, or is this woman, Dr. Stubblefield, plain and simply a predator? Because they deemed that she took advantage of their son. There's a scene at the end where she says that, my son, you don't think that it was harm, it was harm that was caused, it was damage that was caused. My son now, he masturbates. He's like 40 now, but he masturbates. And what the mother said was that if that door was never opened, she said he had to give him pills. Had to give D-Man, Derek, they had to give him drugs. She had to give him drugs so he stopped jacking off. And she said that if that door were never opened, then he would have never known that, right? Someone in the documentary, one of a person that is allied with Dr. Stubblefield said, well, it was greater for him to have loved and lost to have never loved at all, okay? And so it's like, there's this conflict, right? Where it's just like, well, we all have a sexual side, and why should Derek be deprived of knowing his sexual self? Should he be deprived of knowing his sexual self, right? Because sexuality is an enormous part of the human experience. And through this very disagreeable woman, or disagreeable to me at least, But he was able to experience that. Was it worth it? This is a part that they put out very well, because I don't have an answer to that. I don't know, but it's something that I'm now thinking about. And that's a victory for the documentary, because if you see someone that is nonverbal, do you think about them being sexual and intimate just like an able-bodied person is? And that was so significant and awesome how they did that. And overall, just it did a fantastic job of humanizing people that sometimes we might have pity on. We might look at them as a low grade of human. And it said not only is there sexuality, but some people, just because they can't talk, and they interviewed a woman who lives in Berkeley who they had to put subscripts up because it was very hard to understand what she was saying, but she was an intellectual giant, and everything that she said was insightful and made sense. It was clear that she was a brilliant woman, even though it was really almost impossible to understand what she was saying. And so it talked about the mind. The mind in general is not explored nearly enough in our art, in our movies, in our cinema. And they got into the mind, because if this facilitated communication device works, then there is so much happening in the head of people that can't express it. What does that do to them? Where do these thoughts go? And how might they help our whole society if they were able, each one of them were able to express this, if each one were able to talk about complex ideas, and maybe they could talk about the way that we educate people with disabilities, and what works and what does not work. When should somebody be drugged? When should they not be drugged? What's going on in your body? How do you view concepts like heaven and earth and the future and the past and history and love? And to think that people are possibly being hindered from that was very powerful, okay? And they go and they talk about that, but they kind of leave it surface, so you determine your own adventure. And it was it was a hard watch, but I would say that it was worth watching. I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. I want you all to watch it. I want you all to let me know what you think about Tell Them You Love Me. And I want to say just one last thing, one last part, guys, before I let you all go. There was a very powerful scene from the brother, the older brother, and he was in tears when he was recounting the bruises on the back of his brother, and he wondered, where are these bruises coming from, right? He went to the school with somebody hitting him. Did he fought it? And as it turns out, it was coming from the office, because the woman, Stubblefield, would lay out a mat, and that's where they would do it. That's where they would have sex, okay? And said that he was slight, the woman was a lot heavier than him, and she would be on top, and it hurt him, right? And so they're like, he doesn't even, like, you are a rapist, is what he was saying. And I think part of the reason why I had such a hard time getting through the doc is because it deals with these things that are so opposed, right? And it puts them all into one movie. And those things are love, forbidden love, and rape. And it's like, okay, I'm open to art, and sex, like most things, is open for interpretation no matter how much it makes us cringe. And it took a very brave team to explore this, but at times when I was watching it, I thought that, oh, this is disturbing. But sometimes the world is actually disturbing. And I do believe that the art that we watch should be a reflection of the world. So with that, I'm so curious to know what you all think. Please drop your comments about this documentary. Please like this video, share this video, and of course, subscribe to the tribe. Peace, tribe. And